And a very good morning to you. It is Thursday morning, the 2nd of September, 2021. And this is your friend Angus Buchan with a thought for the day. If we go to the book of 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 and verse 24. He who calls you is faithful, who will also do it. God is faithful. It's in his character. It's in his makeup. That is who he is. He is a faithful God, and therefore faithfulness in his people is very important to him. Now, if we go to Matthew chapter 25 and verse 21, Jesus telling the parable says, his Lord said to him, well done, good and faithful servant. You were faithful over a few things. I will make you ruler over many things. Enter into the joy of your Lord. We need to be faithful to God, and we need to trust the faithful one. Early this morning, I was riding my mountain bike past an airstrip. It was absolutely dark and very, very misty. And the aeroplane started up those engines, and those pilots flew that aeroplane into something that they couldn't see, just a sheet of darkness. And I thought, Lord, these men are trusting that little box of instruments on the panel, because I couldn't even see where I was going. And they are flying that aeroplane full of passengers into the unknown. But you see, they had faith in that instrument panel, and it took them out safely. I was praying for them too. But faithfulness is very important. If you look at the Oxford Dictionary, the definition of the word faithfulness is remaining loyal and steadfast. It ranks very high in God's agenda when it comes to a man of God. If we look at 1 Corinthians chapter 13, that's the chapter of love in the Bible, and the last verse, verse 13, and it says, and now these three remain, faith, hope, and love. So the Lord really wants us today to be faithful, because he is faithful to you and me. I got a letter just the other day from a young man, and he's writing, he says, I'm very happily married. He says, I'm married to a beautiful girl. He says, but we keep having a problem. He says, I like talking to young girls on the phone and in the office, and every time I do that, it upsets my young wife terribly. Well, I want to say to you, young man, maybe you're listening to this message as well. Stop doing that, because that is not a faithful thing. You are married to a woman, and that's your wife, nobody else. Now, if it's upsetting her, don't speak to them. You see, God is wanting you and me to be faithful, just like that young wife is wanting her husband to be faithful to her. It's very simple. One of my favorite movies was Braveheart. It's probably because of the Scottish roots I've got. And if you remember in that movie, William Wallace was defeating the enemy, the English, and one of the knights got knocked off his horse. And William Wallace walked up and took his helmet off his head. And who was it? It was someone who was unfaithful. It was the future king of Scotland, Robert the Bruce, who had defected to the enemy. And at that point, the Braveheart just sat down and he gave up. Do not be unfaithful today. Be faithful, because God is faithful to you and I. God bless you, and goodbye.